there and won yet another rings title for Greece. Nikita Nagorny was the silver medalist on the rings, and Salvatore Maresca said, "Hello, let me introduce you to myself and show you just what I'm capable of." We'll talk about the women's competition in just a moment, but this is the start list for the women's balance beam final, and the reserve gymnast Anastasia Bachinska certainly has got some difficulty to throw into this one. We start with Sanne Wevers, second strongest qualifier and the reigning Olympic champion on the balance beam. We also have in that final Lieke Wevers as well. We'll talk more about that in just a moment as we look at the start list for the men's vault competition. Great Britain's Gianni Regini Moran is the third strongest from qualification. He starts. Nikita Nagorny the second strongest, and we have Andrei Medvedev later down the order as the top qualifier. Let's get the competitors out onto the field of play. The women's balance beam final. Sanne Wevers, the reigning Olympic champion and second strongest in qualification. She was the gold medalist in Glasgow in 2018. Marine Boyer of France, the eighth strongest in qualification, her fifth European championship. She won a silver on the balance beam in Bern in 2016. First reserve, Anastasia Bachinska comes into the final with strong difficulty and a chance to really shake things up. Melanie de Jesus dos Santos of France, balance beam silver medalist from 2019. Lieke Wevers joins her sister Sanne in a European final, the fourth strongest in qualification. Martina Maggio of Italy was the fifth strongest in qualification. She finished sixth in the all-around final. Amelie Morgan of Great Britain, fourth in the all-around competition, and the uneven bars bronze medalist. She's the third strongest after the qualification campaign. And Elina Virova of Latvia, the 18-year-old, was the seventh strongest in qualification. She made the balance beam final at the European Championships in Mersin and was fifth.
Great Britain, Gianni Regini Moran.
To the men's vault competition, Gianni Regini Moran, the third strongest in qualification, the 22-year-old from Dartford. Courtney Tulloch, also of Great Britain, the sixth strongest in qualification, part of the team that took silver at the European Championships in Bern and in Glasgow. Nikita Nagorny doesn't really need much of an introduction, but let's do it anyway. The second strongest in qualification, the man who turns up to the European Championships and wins everything. Artur Davtyan, the pommel horse European champion as of yesterday, the fourth strongest in qualification. Ukraine's Igor Radivillov, a fixture in finals at European Championship level. He's the reigning European champion on vault. Igor Sharonkov of Belarus, the seventh strongest in qualification. The man who finished fourth after an inquiry in 2019, and he finished because of the upgrade to Andrei Medvedev of Israel, the top qualifier, the man who won at silver in 2019 in Szczecin. And Loris Frasca of France, the fifth strongest performer in qualification. He was fourth at the European Championships on vault in 2018. There you go. What a way to get things started with this balance beam and vault competition. Final moments of preparation for all of the competitors. They might be less nervous than you are watching at home. Calm yourselves down, it's only the balance beam final. Nothing surprising ever happens there. But we start, do we not, with one of the balance beam competitors.
Absolutely one of the great ones. The reigning Olympic champion on balance beam. She is used to this kind of pressure.
We must embark. It is time to begin. Sanne Wevers of Netherlands, the Olympic champion on the balance beam, European champion from 2018. One of those tremendously efficient gymnasts. She doesn't win many titles, she just happens to win all the big ones. second strongest in qualification with 13.433, the 29-year-old from Leeuwarden.
On cleanly with a round off back handspring mount, swings her leg through and does a wolf jump with a full turn. And that is her own skill. Got it named for her at the World Championships back in 2010 at home in Rotterdam. This is a routine that has such clever composition. Many gymnasts rely on flips, acrobatic series to get their difficulty. She does not. She is all about turns like this one and doing them in combination. Complex dismount.
That's how you get a balance beam final started, isn't it? Sanne Wevers. That is marvellous work. As you say, Blythe, it's a cleverly constructed piece of gymnastics.
She is somebody who has looked at the code of points and thought about it quite differently from a lot of her competitors. Like this right here, the back handspring through to immediate wolf full. And this dismount gainer counter rotation with a full twist. It's actually named after Julia Steingruber, who we're going to see on floor exercise, but not balance beam.
So the challenge has been laid down by Sanne Wevers. Gianni Regini Moran of Great Britain, the third strongest in qualification. Youth Olympic champion on the vault in 2014. 14.666 for this qualifying. That's a good start as well to the vaulting competition.
We have already seen some spectacular vaulting from gymnasts from Great Britain this week, and he is just carrying on with that. This was a kasamatsu with a double twist. Looks a bit like a Sukahara style vault with a triple full. Very, very efficient in the air, tidy on the landing as well.
It's just worth stating as we have another look at this vault that 0.183 separated all of the qualifiers coming in to this vault final. That is a ridiculously tiny amount. That's less than 2/10, and 15 out of the 16 vaults that we saw in qualification for the applicable qualifiers carried a 5.6 difficulty score. Just the one vault that did not. So it will be fascinating to see whether any surprises are thrown up in this vault final. And we might expect that at some championships, but we also have to bear in mind that there's other things happening this year as well. So gymnasts might be taking time to solidify things rather than rush into things. 14.766 for Regini Moran. Now, he's up a 10th from qualification, and up a 10th in this kind of final could mean the world to somebody. His second vaulting qualification was slightly less soundly executed, but not by much. He scored 14.5 for it.
This is going to be something very different.
Oh, that's a really decent performance from Gianni Regini Moran. Got real amplitude in that vault.
Phenomenal height, but one of the things we have to point out is he did take quite a large step back on the landing. Took a step back that was more than shoulder width apart, so he is likely to lose 0.5 of a point in execution for that. when we talk about landings, we think about small, medium, and large errors. Small errors cost you a tenth generally, medium 3/10, and that, fairly a large error, probably going to cost him 5/10 of a point.
So what he has gained from the first vault in qualification may be eroded in the second. Now, on the subject of things that have been gained, 13.866 for Sanne Wevers, difficulty of 5.6. She's up 3/10 from qualification. Her overall score is up by just shy of half a mark. That's a brilliant way to begin a balance beam final.
And she has talked about how she trains different variations of differing difficulties of this routine and pulled out one of her harder ones for today.
Marine Boyer also competed in that balance beam final in Rio de Janeiro. She was 4th in the competition. This is her 5th European Championships, and she won a silver medal on the balance beam in Switzerland in 2016, the 8th strongest in qualifications.
Handles her acrobatic series, round off layout to 2 feet very well. No French gymnast has ever won a European title on the balance beam, and they've got 2 in this final. Oh, but the loss of form, that is going to cost her something in execution. She did very well to recover, though. Really nice combination there of leaps and interspersed with an acrobatic element. We will be seeing a little bit more of that in this final.
Oh, she did well to hold on to that landing. Marine Boyer has spoken of how difficult it's been without competition. She said she's needed this, really has needed the chance to do more than just train, and her goal was to make the balance beam final. Well, that's a mission accomplished for the 20-year-old from Saint-Benoît.
Lovely amplitude on this flight series. All gymnasts are required to do a combination of at least 2 elements, one of them being a salto, showing flight. Unfortunately, on balance beam, there is literally no room for error. Finished off with a double pike dismount.
Showed great strength to hold that as well. Now, Gianni Regini Moran, what he gained on the first, he lost on the second. A 14.5 from qualification, dropping to a 14.4. So all of that leads to 14.583, exactly as he delivered in qualification. So we're still none the wiser at the beginning of what we expect to be a very close men's vault final. Great Britain's Courtney Tulloch was the 6th strongest in qualification with a 14.516. To be honest, the places don't mean too much in a final this close. The execution means a great deal, and Courtney Tulloch again attacking it with enormous amplitude, a little hop back as he landed, but it's another well-administered vault.
Lovely Dragulescu handspring double front with half turn. Very powerful vaulter, Courtney Tulloch. Plenty of time to spot that landing, open out. The gymnasts have to show a conspicuous rise of the body during the after flight, after their hands touch the table. He does that very well. Really good mechanics on this.
Silver medalist at the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games. on the vault. 14.733 for Tulloch. That's a good gain of almost 2/10 from his qualification performance. Huge football fan. He said that he started gymnastics because he wanted to learn how to somersault after scoring a goal. Also a personal trainer too. Now his second vault in qualification was lower by a tenth, 14.466. He's very compressed as he lands that. It'd be interesting to see where the hands actually were on that vault.
Well, if he did touch a hand down, that is going to be a significant execution deduction. He was in the vault final at the 2019 European Championships in Poland. Did these same two vaults. This is the Sukahara double pike, and
Looks
looks
as though,
like
doesn't it?
It does.
This will give us perhaps a little bit of clarity. I say that the camera's up quite high, but it might be about to follow him down. No, well, we'll leave that one open to mystery. But it did look as though there was a little bit of contact with hands on mat. The number will give us greater clarity on that. Now, Marine Boyer has 12.866, so she's down by around about half a mark from her qualification performance, goes into second position with 6 still to go. Now here is something of the wild card performer in Anastasia Bachinska, comes in as the first reserve gymnast for this balance beam final, but she does it with some very compelling difficulty in the locker. Her score in qualification was 13.133. Again, it was a tight qualification process for the balance beam final.
She has everything that she needs to deliver a really big score on balance beam. Routine that's packed with difficulty.
And she's come in to replace the top qualifier, Larissa Iordache of Romania. Iordache's work was well and truly done in the qualification process when she sensationally secured an Olympic spot. Remarkable achievement considering she was unwell. Iordache had a kidney infection and quite wisely has taken the decision to not compete any further. She's had enough disruption through injury to her career over the years, most recently lasting 3 years. So a wise decision to step aside from this final, and an opportunity for Bachinska as a result. She was 4th in the balance beam final at the European Championships at the end of last year, where she was a part of the Ukraine team that won the gold medal.
Very nice back dive mount. It's called a candle. And first big test here, front handspring punch front. Qualification round, we saw her have a little bit of trouble with some of her combinations. Didn't get the connection bonus that she might have. But so far is moving very well through this routine.
Well, that is most interesting from Anastasia Bachinska of Ukraine. We've seen already in these championships reserves come in to various events and deliver something that really sets the cat among the pigeons.
And in this routine, she has employed something of a unique strategy. It seems that she has actually taken out a little bit of her difficulty in order to make sure that she gets through everything cleanly. We'll see when the score comes in.
Well, the scores come in for Courtney Tulloch, and what he gained on the first vault, he has lost on the second. His score 14.516, exactly the same as in qualification. So the first two competitors have done exactly as they did in qualifying, and we are still no clearer as to how this is unfolding. Now, generally speaking, if you want clarity as to how a final is going to unfold, you get Nikita Nagorny out onto the competition floor. Second strongest performer in qualification.
Well, very consistent in the all-around final. We saw him do this Dragulescu vault and stick it cold. Today takes a little bit of a step forward, or not even a little bit, takes a step forward and lands with his chest a little bit low. But look at the height, look at the rotation. Just classic Nikita Nagorny. He comes out and he hits.
European champion on vault in 2015 in Montpellier. So far at these championships, the owner of 2 gold and 2 silver medals. .6 for Nikita Nagorny. So he is down by about a tenth and a half from his qualification performance, which was 14.766. This second vault was a 14.4 in the qualification process.
And this is going to be a Sukahara double pike.
Well, on this occasion, it hasn't quite worked out for Nikita Nagorny. He rolls safely backwards out of it. He can be forgiven for having a moment where things don't go according to plan in a competition where he has dominated.
The backwards momentum that a gymnast gets from this vault is really quite extreme. And as you see there, just didn't have the wherewithal to stand up cleanly.
No chances taken though by Nagorny, just does the safe thing that all gymnasts will do and doesn't risk hurting himself.
And looked in the air like he might have been just a little bit out of alignment. And on this vault, if you are that, you see, just a little bit angled in the air, he did the right thing not to try to go for that landing.
No risks to be taken this year. 13.333 for Bachinska. Her difficulty the same as in qualification, but she is now into the silver medal position after the first 3. Melanie Jesus dos Santos of France, the 6th strongest performer in qualification. Balance beam silver medalist in 2019 when she won the European all-around title.
Very, very nice start to this routine. Takes some risk in doing the front tuck mount and follows up with a front pike. Both of them just bang on. And that too. She opted only to do 2 apparatus here, an even bars and balance beam. lot in this routine, but she has handled it very well so far. One thing left. Oh, and that's something new.
And she just about finds a way to hold on to that rather than going completely forwards. How costly is the adjustment going to be on the dismount from the French athlete who already has such an impressive collection of European Championship honours?
This was a routine that could absolutely end up on the podium. This her flight series, back handspring layout to 2 feet. And she was so focused throughout the routine. This is a new skill. She did only a double tuck in the qualification round. This time adds a full twist. And this is the first time that she has ever competed this. Well done.
Yeah, some execution lost on the landing, but difficulty earned in the air, and that's an important trade-off to consider. Now for Nagorny, he is down in third position, 14.033, courtesy of that 13.466 second vault. So that's the first change we've seen from qualification. Well, this was the man of the moment on the pommel horse yesterday, Artur Davtyan. One of the great upsets in recent memory at the European Championships, and a wonderful moment for a stylish gymnast who is a very fine vaulter. Bronze, or silver medalist, excuse me, in Bern in 2016. Fourth strongest in qualifying. Well, he really had a tough landing there, didn't he?
Well, yes, and he's going to be penalized for it, stepping outside of the lines that are taped across the mat there. The gymnast does that with 1 foot. He's going to be penalized 1/10 of a point. This is a vault that has given him some trouble in the past. It's very difficult, the Kasamatsu double, and you see he barely gets his rotation fully around, and as a result has to take that large step off to the side, and it's going to cost him, in addition to the 1/10 for going outside the tape, about 5/10 in execution. Very clean in the air, however.
On a couple of occasions, he's found himself on the podium for vaulting at the European Championships. His first vault scores 14.166, down by 4/10 from the performance in qualification. Has already earned himself a place at the Olympic Games courtesy of his all-around performance at the World Championships in Stuttgart. Steadies himself for this second vault. 14.333 in qualification. He had a 0.1 penalty for a step out of bounds. Let's see what happens here from Artur Davtyan. Well, that was a vastly improved display. And my goodness, the amplitude on that vault was terrific.
He does one of the very best Dragulescus out there. And the reason why is his form in the air. The legs are totally together as he does this double front. Plenty of time to open out, spread his arms, go for a good landing.
That may help him recoup a little bit of that lost execution from the first one. Now, where does Melanie Jesus dos Santos factor into the equation? Be interesting to look at the difficulty score of this routine. It was a 5.4 in the qualification campaign. A little delay in getting this number in. Just to remind you, it's Wevers who sits atop of the leaderboard with 13.866. On the subject of Wevers, there's the next one. It's a great number from Melanie de Jesus dos Santos, 13.9, and she has gained 0.6 of difficulty from qualification. It was worth putting some of that new work in. The trade-off paid off. Lieke Wevers of Netherlands joins her twin sister Sanne in the balance beam final. I think it may well be a first ever Wevers double act in a European Championship final. Fourth strongest in qualification, 13.4. That's the first occasion, regrettably, in this final that we've seen a competitor unintentionally dismount the apparatus. Done some superb work on the balance beam in the course of her career, including winning the European Games title, the inaugural European Games title in Baku in 2015.
She is known for her superb execution, such clean, stylish work. Same dismount as her sister, gainer full.
It is just a wonderful thing to see Lieke Wevers back in European Championship competition. Her floor routine in the all-around final, one of the highlights of the competition really. Finished 8th overall. She's had quite a journey, hasn't she, to get back to the stage where she really feels ready and willing and full of the desire to compete at elite level once more. Came back to compete at the Head and Vein Friendly at the start of the month, won the all-around gold there, the first time on top of an all-around podium for many years. Arta Davtyan goes into the bronze medal position with a very fine second vault of 14.833. That's the best vault we've seen so far in this final. To the reigning European champion, Igor Radziwiłł of Ukraine. 8th strongest in qualification, 14.483. If there is somebody who might throw something into the mix, it might be this gentleman.
He has competed a more difficult vault than he did in qualifications, but not sure we'll see it here.
It's a big start from Igor Radziwiłł. We're used to that in terms of his vaulting.
And actually, that was a more difficult vault than he did in the qualifications. This is the Dragulescu in the pike position, named after the reigning Olympic champion on men's vault, Risi Guang. Handspring front, double pike, half twist at the end. So much power required to do this vault and do it this well. He does land with his chest quite low and takes that little step, but other than that...
That's a sense of team spirit there from the Ukrainians with Lachinska watching on. Now there is a key bit of separation, a 6 difficulty from Igor Radziwiłł, leads to a score of 15, and that's our first upgrade of this vault final, and we wondered if it might need something like that. And we thought it might be this man, if anyone, who delivered it. Now, can he hold on to the advantage that he has acquired for himself? The second vault in qualification was a 14.333. He did step out of the tram lines.
This should be a Suka hard double pike. It has been complicated for him.
He manages with a big, big step back to hold on to it. Now, what's he going to lose compared to what he just gained on the first one? That's time for the number crunchers to take over.
But takes an audible sigh of relief at keeping that on his feet. He did not fall. That is the important thing. Generates so much power coming off the table. And as we saw from Nagorny, it can be very difficult to stop that momentum.
I think it would be generous to call that a step. It is quite the lunge backwards. Then a little hop thrown in for good measure as well. Now back to the balance beam competition. 12.3 for Lieke Wevers, but let us remind ourselves she was 8th in the all-around competition, and more than anything else, let us remind ourselves that she is back. Martina Maggio of Italy is next to take to the balance beam. One has got to feel for Martina Maggio, she came so close in qualification to securing an Olympic berth, an extra one for the Italian team. But the very fact that she was so close to doing so reminds us of what progress this super gymnast has made lately. 19-year-old from Monza.
At this competition, she has really come out and made a statement that she is a contender. Very beautiful gymnastics, gorgeous amplitude on her leaps.
It's great work from Martina Maggio of Italy, the 6th strongest in the all-around competition, and a gymnast who one really wishes nothing but the very finest for on a day of apparatus finals, when it has been, one suspects, a very emotional European Championship competition for her. So much to enjoy about her work.
Round off 1.5 twist dismount.
Developing into a really interesting beam final. Igor Sharonkov is getting ready to go. We need the scoring for Igor Radivilov first. And you may well have heard there, and you will have now seen that Igor Radivilov has gone into the gold medal position. 14.716 his total score. And if he manages to hold on to a medal position with 3 athletes to go, then that would be Igor Radivilov's 25th medal at multi-sport games, world and continental championships. That would be a mighty quarter century. Here's Igor Sharonkov. Now, Sharonkov, the 7th strongest in qualifying, but with that vault in qualification, his first vault, he picked up a 0.1 penalty for stepping out of bounds.
Really nice body position. Very secure landing. Smallest of hops. That should only be 1/10 of a point on the landing. Little bit off alignment, however. Really hops back into place.
22-year-olds. Scores 14.433 for that vault. That the 5.2 difficulty, the lone 5.2 difficulty that we saw in the qualification campaign. Everyone else, 15 out of the 16 vaults that were from the applicable qualifiers, were at a 5.6. We've already seen in this final one vault, the first of Radivilov's, coming as a 6.0 difficulty. So Sharamkov now with his more difficult vault. And it's a good, more difficult vault from Igor Sharamkov. That's the vault that scored him 14.633 in qualifying.
We have seen a Dragulescu from every competitor in this vault final, and he has a very good one as well. This vault really state-of-the-art, well controlled.
Martina Maggio's score comes in at 13, just out of medal contention for the Italian, a third behind Anastasia Bachinska. So it is De Jesus dos Santos, Sanivevas, and then Bachinska occupying 1, 2 and 3 with 2 competitors to go. So that means the French gymnast, Melanie De Jesus dos Santos, has secured herself a medal. Emily Morgan of Great Britain, the penultimate competitor, third strongest in qualification, an athlete who could well be in contention following her uneven bars bronze medal.
Smooth, graceful, and very steady, typically, on this apparatus. Back handspring, layout, right on. Nice combination there of leaps to the Corbett somersault. And has to grab the beam on that wolf turn. Anytime a gymnast does that, it is the equivalent of a fall. So that is going to cost her full mark in execution.
It's been a fine championships for Emily Morgan of Great Britain. She was fourth in the all-around competition as well, and very much in the discussion until eventually it was her teammate Jessica Gadirova who secured the bronze. Was a bronze medalist at the Youth Olympic Games on the balance beam, but there, an important moment.
And we've talked about how unflappable she has looked all week, haven't we, Ollie? And even after the mistake in this performance, she just continued on as though nothing had happened. And does this very nice round-off double full dismount.
Igor Sharamkov with 14.549 goes into the bronze medal position, proving that there are different ways to secure a high position, in a vault final. Despite having a lower difficulty than all the other competitors, he was deprived of vault honours by the performance of Andrei Medvedev in 2019. Guess who's next up? It's Andrei Medvedev, and he's the top qualifier.
He is the only gymnast we are going to see who is probably not going to do a Dragulescu, but he is going to do 2 vaults that are equally difficult.
Case in point from Andrei Medvedev, who will really expect to be in contention. It's just whether he can surpass the work of Igor Radivilov, who gained that extra 0.4 of difficulty.
vaulting is about power, but it is also about finesse. And the way he sets himself apart is the body position. Gorgeous pike position in the soup double pike, named after a Chinese gymnast, Lu Yufu. And the only thing that you can really take away is that step on the landing.
Now Medvedev has 14.633, so that's down by a tenth from his performance in the qualification campaign. So it is Radivilov, followed by Regini Moran, followed by Sharamkov. And this vault from Medvedev was a 14.6 in qualification, and he picked up a 0.1 penalty for stepping out of bounds. That could be a very crucial 0.1 penalty if he can remove that this time round. It's coming down to fine margins.
Blind landing.
And he has removed it. He's taken some steps. Is that going to be enough to get Medvedev into a podium position? Is Sharamkov once more going to drop down into fourth place, courtesy of the 31-year-olds vaulting?
This vault is a Blahnik, named after the Polish gymnast who won the Olympic title on vault in 2008, Leszek Blahnik. Handspring front double pike, the same thing that we saw from Igor Radivilov, minus the half twist. Really terrific height off the table, and that wonderful pike position.
Emily Morgan scores 13.166 on the balance beam, and she finds herself in fourth position. Elina Virova of Latvia is the last competitor to go. So this means that in the balance beam competition, Melanie de Jesus dos Santos and Sanne Wevers are guaranteed medals, and the reserve gymnast Anastasia Bachinska currently occupies bronze. Virova was the 7th strongest in qualifying. Well, she just gets herself back up onto the apparatus extraordinarily quickly after a very nasty loss of contact and really a tough collision there with the apparatus.
Did really well to get right back on. No matter how much you practice these elements on balance beam, it is never fun to fall like that, come down on your ribs.
This is exemplary composure from Elina Virova. Whatever the position she finds herself in at the conclusion of this final, the extraordinary recovery there from Elina Virova. My word.
And her shoulders just get a little bit out of alignment with the balance beam.
I think that angle really illustrates what kind of a contact that was. That really is just incredible, and she just gets straight back up and continues with a remarkable degree of resilience. One hopes that she is okay, and one suspects that she will be attended to medically just to make sure that all is well. Andrei Medvedev has gone into the silver medal position with 14.658, and he is secure of a medal as a result, and it means that once again Igor Sharonkov goes down into fourth place. Medvedev, a gymnast who has worked so hard over his career to get into continental contention. He's made so many vault finals, and this could be his second silver medal following the 2019 event. He is guaranteed a medal of some description, as is Igor Radivolov, his 25th in a major competition. What about Loris Frasca of France, fifth strongest qualifier?
Well, he has everything that he needs to be able to challenge for the podium here, including this Kasamatsu double. Same first vault we saw from Gianni Regini Moran. Very graceful in the air. Gets the double twist around. His legs are a little bit crossed as he lands, and it results in that little adjustment as his feet touch the mat.
25-year-old scores 14.7 for his first vault, and he is up by 2/10 from his performance in qualification. And what that means, just looking at the numeracy of this final, is he is a realistic threat now for a medal, depending on what happens now with this second vault. Oh, so very nearly for Loris Frasca after a wonderful first vault, and just for a moment, as you saw him in midair, you might have thought this was going to go absolutely according to plan. Fine margins.
Fine margins indeed. As you say, Ollie, for a second it looked like he was going to have what it took to plant this one really well. A little bit of a lack of height coming off the table. Pushes through his shoulders to get up into the air.
We're talking about such a small margin here in terms of the angle of attack. It's not a great deal. It looks so huge in terms of something going wrong. It really isn't, is it? It never is in gymnastics. It's always so marginal. Frasca is the reigning Mediterranean Games champion on vaults. Virova comes in with a score of 11.2 after a tenacious display, and she's getting a little bit of guidance there by the looks of things from Sanivevas. But what it means is that the European champion, a history-making European champion, she's used to making history for the French team, is Melanie de Jesus dos Santos. And there is a quite brilliant moment for Anastasia Bachinska, who was the first reserve for the final. And we said at the start that there might be, with her difficulty, the chance to make a great impression. Well, consider it, impression made. The classified results in the women's balance beam competition. The bronze medal for Anastasia